I've been having a lot of conversations about our mission to automate our agency services using AI and automation solutions. And so I want to walk through, I'm going to go through all of the steps. Right now, this video will be the high level process, and then I'll record some additional videos that go as in depth in each individual area. So our belief at Levy Consulting is that we're in an AI arms race, right? That the agencies that adapt these technologies right now are going to be the agencies that have an advantage going into the next 10 years, right? I think a lot about literacy rates, right? There are these small things that spurred big changes in literacy rates, right? Martin Luther was one of those things where the counties closest to where he was from had this like different value of work and reading. They valued, like, obviously he taught them to like read the Bible, right? And the other churches weren't reading. And so just that act of reading put the counties near him at this competitive advantage in terms of their economies, right? They're wealthier, they have more money, they had a higher literacy rate, all of those things just based off those small factors. And think about the world today, right? Like, it's not literacy in the same way, but I think literacy and competency with these AI tools is a big factor, just like that was. I kind of wonder, like, where in the world should I be where I'm closest to this epicenter and getting more and more exposure, which I guess now with the internet is not as big of a deal. But let's go into kind of our mission here. And then I'll talk to you about a little bit about specifics, but this will be more so the high level. So our goal is to add at least 20% efficiency by automating systems, right? And so in the client onboarding phase, there's a lot that can be automated with Zapier, right? Client folders being created, client briefs being created, a lot of documents being created that in the past we maybe had a PM go and duplicate these things. You can onboard using Zapier and have those documents already made where you can either have a human add input into it, or we have ChatGPT add inputs into it, because Zapier also connects to ChatGPT and it can connect to those custom GPTs that you're making, right? And so we'll connect this in where we onboard a client, we input them into a Google Sheet, which that line on the Google Sheet triggers a Zap, and then it goes all the way through. So you can ping these assistants with the assistants based off of those custom GPTs, and you can get all of these assets produced, right? A creative brief, a campaign brief, a client brief. A client brief you give to your copywriters, a campaign brief you put for the promo, a creative brief for instructions to your designers. You can get ideas, Facebook campaign ideas, YouTube campaign ideas. You can get copy angles. You can get campaign ideas. And the beauty is that if you have an onboarding sheet or a Google Sheet that onboards with all of the necessary columns, you can have this automated, right? There's missing pieces because you have to have prompts that are quality, right? So the prompt writing at these stages, that's a really important thing that we should talk about in another video. But with the right prompts, you can get very good quality rough draft outputs in. I don't set my Zaps to run immediately. I have like a little bit of a time delay, but let's say in the course of 20 minutes to an hour, you can have a rough draft version of all of these, right? We have been in the habit of using Google Bard for creative brainstorming. We have found that Google Bard in the old days, not so good at execution. I know that Google Bard is migrating with Gemini now. Who knows what it will look like in the future? But the advantage here is that it's connected to the internet. And so we do, or connected to Google, I should say. So we do our brainstorming with Google Bard. And then we take these angles and we use them as an input that we put into the creative production process. So creative production, you can again use Zapier in a Google Sheet, like a request sheet, right? We use Google Docs a lot for like requests. So you can fire that based off the request sheet, put your angle on here, and then it fires. So we use copywriting. We do a lot of our copywriting through ChatGPT. I'll show you our prompt generator, and I'll show you how we connect that into automation in a subsequent video. Graphic ads, we don't actually use the AI solution anymore. We tested Ad Creative AI it didn't work that well for us. I found it a little too templated, right? And so we actually have pretty cheap, inexpensive graphic designers outsourced. They're all over the world. But I am happy with the human design. I'm happier with the human design than these kind of like templated solutions from Ad Creative AI. Who knows if they'll get better, but right now we're not using that piece of it. The humans we're liking better. We do give them prompts that are written by ChatGPT though. So a lot of times our instructions to our graphic designers, like for social, they're all coming through automation. And then for video ads, it depends on the video ad. We use a tool called Munch for short form and for social stuff like that. But I found like, A, it's faster. B, sometimes it's higher quality work than some of these video editors, right? Like we used to spend thousands a month on video editors who take a month to get a social media video edited. And then here we can get it done in the downloading of the video is the longest part of the process. So just a couple, let's say an hour to be safe. Then we get to the core of it, right? I think a lot of people use these generative BI tools for these types of solutions, right? Generating content. But then we get to optimizations. So one thing that we really believe in is using the automations that we already have, right? Scripts and rules within Google Ads, but using automation solutions that we already have within the ad account. That's a big part of it. And then we partner with a company called Accio that really helps us power these campaign optimizations. And so what happens is we do first level data analysis, right? This is like essentially what you would do in a pivot table or something, but you don't have to make a pivot table. You just go look at the dashboard type thing. So we use this for creative performance, creative assets, copy, landing page copy, all of that type of stuff. How are things performing? But the beauty of this tool is that there is machine learning, predictive machine learning models built into it. So what you do is you send data through one, and then you go back up, you make some more. We should almost connect these because you go make 100 more headlines or 1,000 more headlines. You run them through the predictive machine learning model based off of the past data, and then you get a sense for what's going to perform. Okay. Then campaign strategy. So one of the things that I really like about this tool, Accio, is when you use this predict function, you see what variables most closely correlate to ROAS or whatever the KPI is. And then it actually shapes campaign strategy because V2 of the campaign strategy, you're adjusting the strategy based off the insight that you're getting here. Okay. Strategy, I use it like we talked about here on the briefs, but then also the predictive modeling, which we just talked about, getting new variables to test and learning what variables most closely correlate. I've been surprised sometimes where what I thought was most likely to drive ROAS was not the variable. Okay. Business development. So one thing is social media, like it makes it very easy to automate out social media activity. And the other one is lead scoring with these same predictive modeling tools that we might use on a campaign, right? In my mind, this is like a huge untapped area of AI in general. Right? Like if we know who has converted with the agency or with any type of company in the past, we can cut through the noise and just focus on those types of prospects that are at least more predictive of, converting for us. And then on the account management side, it helps a lot too, right? Like just creating a client dashboard. And again, this is the tool Accio. I can create a dashboard in minutes, and I can create a dashboard with like a BI, business intelligence, analytics major who just graduated in an hour versus like, hiring some expert who's going to take a month to make a dashboard. And then we use this too, where I mentioned this in the onboarding flow, but like if I can give clients assets on day one, which I can with this process, right? It requires some editing, but I just edit and give clients some assets day one. And here have a dashboard for them ready at day one. If we have account access, for me, that like really it drives forward what we're doing on the account management side. So this is the high level. The next video I do will go deeper into just the creative process. I'll show you that process.